This isn't a single subject bill. We're cramming agriculture and housing and broadband money together. Honestly, the agriculture bill is pretty good. And if it was an agriculture bill, I might even vote for this bill. But we are adding housing provisions in here, not only housing finance with over $100 million in bonding to pay to developers to build housing in some places where there's already a lot of housing. We see this in Mankato, in my area, where we have developers building and building, and a lot of people who may want to build will just hold off and wait for that free government money to come. There's also housing policy in here, and some of this was contentious. We had a long debate on the housing bills in here that would be putting more regulations on landlords all over the entire state to address a problem that was identified at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. These housing regulations are being put on landlords, and it's in this bill, in the ag bill. And furthermore, broadband, as Representative Garofalo said, is old technology that is unnecessary. I know there's a lot of people out there lobbying for broadband, and a lot of people are misinformed because the broadband lobby is showing you maps of broadband, or where they show deserts for broadband, but they're not actually showing any wireless in there. And as I've mentioned before, I live in a broadband desert. I have 5 providers of broadband that meet our definition of broadband in my area, but it still shows up being in a broadband desert. I have the head of the Minnesota Telecom Alliance, the head of they call themselves the voice of broadband, threatening me in local papers because I speak out against broadband. A lobbyist threatening me in local papers. 2 days before we were going to vote on $70 million for broadband, of which his family owns a broadband company and receives $12,000 per customer to bring broadband to them, even though they already have access to broadband through wireless means. This is a gravy train of money for people. They're taking limited dollars. We should be using money to fight the opioid crisis with cash. We should be fixing our roads. Instead, we're dumping money, we're trenching it into the ground on decades-old technology when satellite and wireless and fixed wireless is already available. This is really disappointing that people continue to buy into this myth that we need to have all this money put into broadband, and that the lobbyists have grown so strong here at the Capitol to change how you vote. So I'm voting no today on this bill. I love the ag parts, disappointed at the broadband, and disappointed at the housing, and that we get to cram multiple subjects into one bill that is against our state's constitution for the single subject requirement.